it's I, the Family Car Guy. I want to welcome you guys back to the channel. I want to first apologize because it has been over a month and some change, I believe, since my last video. My job has been crazy, family life has been crazy, and I had some issues with my computer, so being able to edit videos after recording them has been a challenge, but we got all that sorted. We're back in the game. So, as the title of this video suggests, we are talking about bringing the C4 back to the track for another HPDE, another high performance driving event. And how did it go? It went absolutely fantastic. You guys, I'm telling you, anybody who has a Corvette, C4, C5, C6, C7, whatever you got, C3, C2, whatever you got, bring it to the track. Bring it to the track. You owe it to yourself. Not to beat the crap out of it per se, but just to really see what the engineers did to get your car to perform the way that it does, to put out the numbers that it does. You know, really appreciate your car for what it can. Even if you don't drive it like that, you don't plan to take it to the track routinely, do it at least once. You know, running it through back roads is always fun. Just did that the other day with some friends. But going to the track just takes the experience to a whole nother level. So without further ado, let's talk about the track day. So first of all, for those of you who are not new to my channel, or who are new to my channel, I apologize, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do like this video, go ahead and leave a comment at any point in this video and tell me your guys' thoughts, tell me your feedback, tell me if you guys are going to the track yourselves, tell me any ideas that you have. Let's have a community conversation. Now, to the videos. So I want to show you guys some footage. I actually did get footage this time. Last time my GoPro was giving me problems, but this time we did get some GoPro footage, and it was phenomenal. So let me just tell you guys about my day. So we got up there, it was like 8 in the morning. We went back into the novice group because where I live in Minnesota, we've got one main track. It's Brainerd International Raceway. And the weekend that I went up was an event called Power Cruise, which happens all over the country. But the very next day, so that was Thursday through Sunday, and then the very next day was Monday, which was a high performance driving event put on by my Corvette club, Suburban Corvettes of Minnesota. So all kinds of great cars out there. I was in the novice group again because this is only my second high performance driving event. Which means you get the benefit of having an instructor. I call it a benefit because, quite honestly, if you don't know how to drive on a track and you're not comfortable, having an instructor really puts you at ease and really helps you get comfortable behind the wheel of your car in a track setting. So, I made a video a while back called C4 Corvette Suspension Upgrades. I will put a link to that video in either the description of this video or as a card that you can click on in the middle of this video. But we made some changes to the C4 suspension. I have a 1996 C4 LT4 behind me. This is the car that I pretty much daily drive in the summertime. It had the base suspension, the FE1 suspension, when I first got it. So that means it had the very softest shocks, it had the very softest springs. And so those are the first two things that we changed out on the car, were those two things. We went with the stiffest factory shocks you could get. So we went with the Z51 shocks, and we went with the Z51 rear transverse leaf spring. Was looking for the front leaf spring, but unfortunately they were sold out everywhere that I was looking. But I got a good deal on the shocks and the spring, so that's what we've done thus far. Now, this time around, we had a good time last time, but this time around, we added a chassis no flex frame brace. So if you look underneath, I'll put up pictures too, but basically if you look underneath a C4 convertible, you will see that they have basically an X-shaped frame brace that stiffens the chassis to compensate for the fact that the car does not have a roof, which would add to structural rigidity. And if those of you who are not familiar with C4 Corvettes, or those of you who are, for that matter, you all know, or you will know soon, if you drive one, that relative to the more modern Corvettes, starting with the C5 and beyond, the C4 Corvette has an issue with chassis flexibility. The chassis tends to flex. I'll make another video at some point, I'm sure, on the target top and how that plays into it, but we all know that the target top, with the target top off, and even with the target top on, the chassis tends to flex, especially when you compare it to the C5 Corvette, C6, C7, and beyond. So to compensate for that, in the convertibles, there was a chassis frame brace that was in an X shape that was created to compensate for that. Now, there's a company called Vet to Vet that has a chassis no flex kit where it runs parallel down the frame of the car. So in between the front and the rear axle, as opposed to crossing over like the factory chassis frame brace for the convertible versions of the C4. So it provides a huge amount of improvement, at least in my opinion, from my observation, in structural rigidity and chassis flex. So when I was on the track, I could really feel the difference. The car really did want to turn. It wanted to that much more dig on corners and plan itself rather than lean and me having to compensate for the fact that it still wanted to roll even with a stiffer shock and transverse leaf spring. So that was phenomenal. Had a great time with that. So really excited about that. Highly recommend. And matter of fact, let me show you guys quickly what it looks like underneath the car. It's a little dark. It's the evening here while I'm shooting this. So let me show you guys real quickly what that looks like. So guys, if you can see right here, you can see it runs right here underneath the car. This black bar here runs right across. So it sticks out a little bit underneath the frame, but not much. It allows you, unlike the original factory C4 frame brace that comes with the convertibles, this allows you to still work on the exhaust and really get underneath the car without having to take off the frame brace every time. So, and it's a great design. Works phenomenally. I'll put a link in the description of this video of where I got this. It's a company called Vet to Vet, and it was this design apparently was used on the Corvette Challenge cars, and Gordon Kilbrew was the designer. For those of you who are familiar with him. So we had all kinds of cool stuff at the track. We had some Dodge Viper race cars. We had a C5 race car. People with Corvettes, of course, because it's a Corvette event. We had Ferrari, I believe it was a 575. It was either a 550 or 575. I couldn't get close enough to tell, but just an amazing car. We had a 68 or 69 Camaro. We had, I forgot, it was like a late 70s, early 70s Chevy Nova. With a 383 stroker, fully built autocross car. Husband and wife brought the Camaro and the Nova to the track, so that was amazing. Had a Scion FRS, which super fun car to throw around the track. So it was just a lot of variety, good people, old and new stuff, everything in between. It was a really great time. So of course I'm back in the novice group, and I highly recommend everybody to be in the novice group if you have very, very little seat time, because again, you want to get yourself familiar with your car on a track. It's different than driving it on the street. And so I did that, and basically for me, I was able to reduce my time, and I had never run on this track before. This is the competition version of the track. For those of you who are familiar with Brainerd International Raceway, it's a 3.1 mile track, which includes the drag strip, and that's got 10 turns. And then there's a 13 turn track that's 2.5 miles. That's shorter, doesn't have a drag strip, but it's got a lot more turns, a lot more technical. So it really challenges your driving skill a lot more. So I never run that version of the track. So I rode with an instructor. This instructor was in his 60s. He had a stroke, I think it was a year or two ago. But he had been driving that Brainerd for like 40 years. He owns a C4 race car himself. Was giving me all kinds of tips, and I will show you the video clip of that.
Always look over this way, whether there's somebody there or not. Okay, stay over here to the left. Straight, straight, straight. Now turn. Now, that's what we want you to do. Now, get over to the left a little bit.
Okay.
Right, I mean, right.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've had a problem with saying the wrong thing when I had the, well, what do you want to call it? Stroke.
Yeah, so right, yep.
Okay. Now go up. Yeah. About the time you line up with that one is when you're going to go up. Okay. Turn. Now get way over, way over. You want to get way over there. Farther, right here. Right here. This is where you want to be. Now roll it out, roll it out. Okay. Slow down, way down, way down. Straight, 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 straight. Turn. Roll it out at the end of the curbing. Now keep the wheel turned and get right over there. Now straighten the car out, let it settle down. Ready, set, turn. Yes, now get right over there. Straight, 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 straight. Turn. Now that's where we wanted to be inside. Okay, slow down, way down, way down. Look, he's looking for something now, so drive your lines.
Okay.
Turn. Okay, hold it. Side to the inside. Now, whoop, slow down. Get 2/3 of the way out here. Keep driving, keep driving. Now, get over to the inside. Okay. Now to the left. Brake, brake. Ready, turn. Okay, now, let's get over here. Now turn. Look, you're too much power, because you see how you gave it gas and it wants to walk out. So you gotta be really careful on how much gas you give it. Okay.
As you can see, he was very, very energetic and just full of life and full of great tips and really on me on when to turn, when to get on the brakes, you know, when to do what. And so my fastest time with him in the car was 2:09. My fastest time by myself, as you can see in this next clip,
Yeah, baby! 159.86, let's go! Woo! Woo! Yeah!
159.81. So just over the course of a day, I was able to whittle my time down, do some quick math by like 15 seconds, right? I think it was 2:14 was my first run, then 2:09, and then I finally got it down to like 1:59. And I probably had I had more time, gotten it down to maybe 1:58 or 1:57. So really, really happy with that. Some issues that I found while driving my car on the track. So one thing that I really like about driving on the track is it really shows you the weaknesses of your car or where you can get better, not only as a driver, but also your car's performance itself. So one thing I've noticed is this, and I'll show you. So again, it's a little dark. Don't know how well you guys can see, but if you look here, you can see that the bushings right here on the front wishbone suspension mount, they are pretty much done. I mean, they are pretty, look at all that rubber just kind of dry and rotted there. The back one doesn't look quite as bad. Don't know how well you can see that. Doesn't look quite as bad, but this front one is just bad. That's bad. So we go around to the other side here. You can see this one has seen some better days as well. Yeah, not great. The one in the back doesn't look horrible, but it could be better. So we definitely, over the wintertime, need to be looking at these bushings. If we look down here, those look okay, but they don't look great. So something that we'll want to look at. The other thing that I want to improve on the C4 in terms of handling for next spring is we want to do a front camber brace and stiffening the front end and getting it even tighter to go along with the bushings. So we're gonna go to upgraded bushings. I think we're gonna go to either polyurethane or Delrin, probably I think a Delrin or a lesser, not quite as rock hard substance as polyurethane. There's some levels, some different kits, because we don't want to kill our street ride, because again, this is my daily driver, so I don't want it to ride like a race car all the time. But I do want to get the benefits on the track. So between those two things, those are the two major upgrades I want to make in terms of handling. Now, the other thing is brakes. I went with a higher performance brake pad, a decent rotor, nothing super crazy. It's not like it's a $3,000 Willwood kit, but the J55 brake system, if you're a novice driver like myself, is going to be solid as long as you've got great brake pads. And some solid brake fluid. You may want to change your brake fluid before you get to the track. Mine, after this track day, is pretty much black, so we're done. We need to change it out. And as I noticed over the day, my brakes were starting to fade. So I think I am kind of at the point. Originally, I was thinking I don't want to spend the money on a C5 rotor kit, where you get the C5 a C5 brake upgrade kit, where basically you get the upgraded C5 calipers and the brackets that basically allow you to mount C5 calipers on a C4 in the front. The rear brakes are fine, but we're looking at doing that. So prior to this experience, I was thinking I'm probably fine, but after this experience, as I started to get a little faster and started to really dig into corners and brake later and later, as I got more comfortable, because I knew I had more brake, I noticed that I had to start braking earlier and earlier toward the end of the day, because the brakes just weren't able to keep up over time. As a precaution, they literally don't let you run longer than maybe 15-20 minutes, at least as a novice group anyway, so your brakes are going to get a chance to cool off, and the rest of the car will get a chance to cool. But as you get more, if you plan on doing it more and more, you may want to consider looking into what I'm thinking about doing, which is the C5 brake upgrade. So those are basically the main things that I'm planning on doing over the winter to improve the handling and the trackability of the C4. I'm actually pretty happy with the tires I've got on the car. Nitto NT555 G2s. They handle great. They're okay in the rain. They're not phenomenal, but they're decent. They're a great track tire. And in terms of them not being a dedicated track tire, but being just a street tire that is good for the occasional track day, they're plenty for what I need right now. As I get more into it, I might look into a more focused track tire like an NT555 drag radial or a Mickey Thompson ET Street or something that's a little bit more hardcore. But of course, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pay for that when it comes to tread wear and tread life. So just think about that as well when you're thinking about upgrading tires. And you may want to go with multiple sets of tires and swapping them in and out as you make your way to the track day. I drive my car to the track. I do not have a truck or any vehicle that can tow my car right now, so it's important for me to get home. So I've got to kind of go middle of the road in terms of how far I go into the hardcore racing, and how I spec out my car. If you've got a full-blown race car and you've got the ability to go all in on race car parts, and you've got the budget and you've got the truck and the trailer, do that, you know. But the most important driver mod, let me stress this, and I basically kind of just said it, but the most important modification you can make to your car is the driver, you getting better. And behind me, and for those of you who are new to my channel, and for those of you who are not, behind me you see a silver 2006 C6 Z06. That car, as you may know, has 500 horsepower, 505 horsepower from the factory, 470 pound-feet of torque. My car has just recently gotten done the heads and cam package from Race Proven Motorsports, so now it's doing more like 640, 650 at the tire. It's super fun. I've got Michelin Pilot Super Sports on that car. They're not, in my opinion, great tires for a car with that much power. They just spin and spin and spin. So if they're doing that on the street, they'll definitely do that on the track. By contrast, it's hard to make the C4 spin. Part of it is because there's way less power, but really those tires are, in my opinion, that good on the street. I find that they grip a lot better, relatively speaking. They get traction and they get me around corners way better. So on the Z06, you know, I'm not ready, the car isn't ready, and I'm not ready as a driver, I feel like, to put that car on the track. And a lot of people have asked me that, how come you got your Z06 back, put it on the track? And it's like, we'll get there. But to get the car ready for the track in terms of tires, I've got brake rotors ready for it, I've got to get new brake pads, all those types of things. In order to do that, you know, that's going to take some time, some investment, and also a comfort level for me, because as fun as that car is, right now, I don't feel like I've got the skill level to really maximize how fast that car really is. And as we know, the Z06 is considered one of the best factory track cars, both the C5 and the C6 Z06 out the gate. But again, the most important modification, the most important factor in the equation of a successful track day is you, the driver. So you got to be comfortable with your car. You got to be comfortable with your skill. If you've driven the car to the track, you need to be able to get it home. Unfortunately, we had a Z06 that was highly modified that crashed and probably was totaled. I don't have any pictures, but it was pretty sad to see such a beautiful car, high-performing car, basically wrecked on the track. And I'm sure that guy was an experienced driver, but it happens, right? So we've all got to make sure that we are prepared, you know, in terms of our skill and in terms of our car prep before we make those decisions. So that's why I'm still driving the C4. It's fun also to modify the C4, see how it does, and then and make improvements and come back. Make improvements as a driver and also make improvements to the car itself. I mean, I almost ran up on a C7 Z06 until he kind of figured out and got comfortable. I was running up on him. I actually passed a C7. It wasn't a Grand Sport, but it was a C7 Z51. I passed him a few times. I passed Scion FRS, which, I mean, the C4's got more power. This is a 96, so it's the LT4 with the 6-speed. But in terms of handling, the FRS is a great. I've driven that car. That car can handle really well, especially when you put even stickier tires on it. So I mean, it's a good track car, especially for a track that's got a lot of corners, that's very technical. So definitely passed and hung with some cars that are on paper at least got more power, got, you know, probably equal if not better handling. So the C4 is a formidable track weapon, especially if you are a newer or intermediate or occasional track driver. So want to encourage everybody who's got a Corvette out there, even if it's not a C4, any car, go enjoy yourself. Get out there and drive, man. That's what these cars are about. You know, we understand garage queens, we understand cars that are appreciating in value because of their rareness or whatever the case may be, but drive your car, enjoy it. Do it for yourself. You know, don't even do it for me, do it for yourself. You owe it to yourself. You spent all that money on the car. You know, this is the car that was the poster on your wall. Go drive your car. So that's pretty much gonna do it for this video, guys. I wanna thank you so much for your support. It's been a while, like I said, for various reasons that I mentioned earlier on putting out a video, but I really want to get this video out to you guys and talk about the track. Hopefully it's not too long, but we got more stuff coming. A few other cosmetic things we're gonna do to the C4. We're winding down the Corvette driving season here in Minnesota as we move into fall. So we've got some other projects and some other things coming up for the winter, and we will go from there. So until then, be blessed, peace out, we'll catch you in the next one.